What's up, Tight End U Squad? My name's Nick, I live in Ottawa, Canada, and I work for the Foot Collective, and I'm here today to briefly chat to you about balance beams. So thank you, George and Emma, for supporting TFC with the beam purchase for Tight End U, and thank you all for your attention for the next couple of minutes. I think the work you're doing and the community you're building is amazing, so thank you for doing that work and sort of giving a new template for leaders so that males have role models, because we need more men showing up in this world. So thank you for that. So I want to quickly chat to you about why it's worth using our balance beams. And I think the best way for me to frame it, based on the work that we've been doing and working with pro athletes, is viewing the beam as a recalibration tool. The reality is that shoes aren't very friendly for our feet. They're not shaped like feet. They tend to deform them and mess up our capacity to have a strong foundation. And we spend a lot of time sitting in chairs. And so those two things combined make it so that our feet and our hips don't talk very much together. And also make it so that our feet aren't very functional, right? Natural feet are strong, wide, splayed, super muscular, have a really stable arch. And oftentimes we get away from that. And for elite level athletes, a lot of times the feet unlock a huge amount of athleticism. And not only that, but they can be either your enemy in terms of injuries, or they can be an ally in terms of preventing and mitigating injuries. And so really what the beam does, it's a very simple tool. It's a piece of metal. You all have an 18-inch pro beam to take home after the event that you leave from. And really what it does is it extracts the body's innate intelligence to self-organize. And what I mean by that is our bodies have this incredible ability to optimize efficiency if we give it the right environment and the right inputs to stimulate that. So when you're standing on a beam and you're flailing around, every second on a balance beam is essentially thousands of micro adjustments that your body's making in order to optimize efficiency, right? In order to put your hip above your foot, in order to fire all the right foot muscles and all the right deep hip stabilizers to make sure that you don't fall over. And that recalibration is an extremely powerful way to, number one, improve performance, but number two, mitigate injuries. And I think another really powerful thing about the beam is that it's actually fun to do, right? If it's not playful, if it's not fun, if you don't look forward to doing it and challenging yourself on it, you're probably not going to do it. And so our hope is that the beam can provide an outlet for athletes at any level, especially the elite level, to restore foot function, restore natural foot function, to reintegrate the feet and the hips. A lot of times in strength conditioning, we train individual parts, right? We train power, we train capacity, we train strength, but oftentimes we don't train integration, which is taking all these different parts in our body and making sure all the parts speak together to work as an integrated whole. And that's actually what's needed in order to prevent ourselves from getting in sketchy positions that can damage our body or that can leak performance. And so think of time on the beam as a recalibrator for your hips, for your feet, and to integrate your entire body. And so in today's session, I'm just going to give you 3 easy movements to get started with. And these are very simple. And although they work a lot on the physical body to integrate and restore function at the feet and hips, they also have a big mental component to them. Because in order to not fall over on a beam, you have to calm your mind. You have to center yourself. You have to focus just on the present moment. And that in and of itself is a very powerful element of mental training. So I'm going to show you 3 movements today. The first one is single leg. That's where you all start. It's very simple. Don't look down, don't fall off. There's no wrong way of doing it. If you fall off, get back on again. And you'll end up noticing that you actually increase your skill very quickly. And that's because it's not actually strength that you're building, it's the neural circuits of being able to respond quickly and adjust quickly. And it's essentially your body recalibrating itself. The more it recalibrates itself, the more you're going to be able to stand on there without falling over. Okay, so the first one is single leg. You do your left side, do your right side. If you have an injury history on one side, time yourself on both sides and see if there's a difference, because that can be a really powerful insight. If you get 10 seconds on one side and you get like 3 minutes on the other, you know which side you got to work on to kind of rebalance both halves of your body. The second one is tandem. And you all have an 18-inch beam, so depending on how big your feet are, you might not be able to put your full foot forward and back, like both feet. But if your heel's hanging off, that's all good. The whole point is just to put one foot directly behind the other by taking the other foot the other foot's ability out of being able to balance by sort of like waving as a counterbalance. It makes it a lot harder, and you have to focus a lot more on your hips than on just your ankles and your lower body system. And then the third one is ninja, which is where you're putting both your feet perpendicular to the beam. The beam goes kind of right in the groove between your toes and your foot. I'm going to demo these right now real quick. And that's a big one because it actually switches up the plane you're working in. So you're not working in the lateral plane anymore, you're working in sort of the front to back plane of the body. And so, you know, in that position, just standing there and trying to get a good thing to kind of work towards, even just during this week's event, is try and get 60 seconds on all three of these. So 60 seconds on each leg, 60 seconds in tandem with one foot behind the other, and 60 seconds in ninja. And feel free to mess around. Like I said, there's no wrong way of doing this. The goal is just to give your body a stimulus to recalibrate itself that's portable, that you can use anytime. And every second you're on there, your body's working its magic. We don't have to pretend that we know exactly what it's doing, but it's doing some good shit. So I'm going to show you these right now. Grateful for your time. Thank you all for doing this awesome work and inviting us to join in this event, even if it's by video. And I hope you enjoy the beam. And if anyone has any questions, I always make myself available to any athlete who has questions about it, fully confidential. But just ask Emma for my details, and I'm happy to chat with anyone who's struggling with foot, ankle, knee, or hip problems. We've been working in that space for about 6 years now, and have learned a lot of stuff. And I'm always happy to help. So I'll show you these movements now, and then I hope you have a great yoga session with Emma and a great rest of your Tight End TEU event. And thanks again for welcoming us. All right, so beam is on the ground, single leg, super simple. Don't look down, don't fall off. Foot goes on the beam parallel, and you just balance. And you should be able to do this without a huge amount of effort. Like I said, the more flailing around you do, it's just your body trying different strategies to help you stop you from falling off, basically. Okay, if you want to make it more challenging, throw a ball between two people. It's even harder because you got to coordinate upper arms and lower body. But as long as you're not looking down and as long as you're not falling off, make sure you breathe. People tend to hold their breaths really easily. And so try one foot and then try the same thing on the other foot and see if you find an asymmetry from left to right. The other thing too is because the beam is round, it forces your foot to kind of cup around it, which offsets the effects of shoes that squish our feet. Seems like the fancier the shoes are, the more pointy they are, and that's not good for your toes. We might think that looks good, but that leads to bunions and aromas, a bunch of nasty stuff in the feet. And so this can really help offset that. Okay, so single leg, that's the first one. Second one is tandem. So you put one foot behind the other. You have to use a lot more hips. So be fluid, be loose, don't get stiff, and see how long you can last on here without looking down and without falling off. And if you want more of a challenge, like I said, throw a hacky sack or a ball to each other, it's way harder. Okay, and the third one is ninja. So both feet going on the beam, and then see how well you do balancing here. Use your arms as needed. Unlock all your joints so that you have as many options as possible. Okay, and if you want, you can even try some squats where you're going down, coming up. Challenge yourself, have fun. Thanks again for watching this, and have a great event. Cheers.